Welcome to our cinema snack where we are analyzing A Knight's Tale. And love it or hate it, it's quirky and fun and kind of something of a cult classic, maybe at this point. Um, so I'm excited to dig in and see what we can discover about this movie.
Yes. I say, actually remember seeing this in the theaters. And when you saw Chaucer walking down the road naked, you're going, wait, what? I mean, I had never seen anything like that before on screen. It was quite shocking, but it was so quirky and so like, whoa. Of course, then you go to things like Waking Ned Divine. Sorry.
The superior nude scene is all I can say. Uh, so this is substantive, but I just wonder, how do you guys like the anachronisms? You know, the all the modern day stuff that they, throw in there for fun. It's obviously done purposefully. What is that your cup of tea or not?
Yeah, Michelle.
Normally, it's not my cup of tea, but in this case, I thought it worked so well because of the way it was woven through. And too often, I feel like it's just thrown in as an after effect. So in this case, I loved it.
Yeah, I'd agree that the fact that they really went for it and committed to it and didn't just do it halfway, that helped. I mean, when they the very first example of that, when they started in with "We Will Rock You," it was a little jarring. But then, I mean, they went for it so wholeheartedly. I mean, everybody was participating. It wasn't just like a musical overlay. Um, Everybody in the scene was engaged with it, so it was kind of immersive that way. So you could tell it wasn't just an afterthought. It was part of the intention of the movie.
I thought it was thoughtful, like not thoughtful, but well thought out, like clever. The play back and forth, um, like you said, it just wasn't overlaid on top of it. It was a part of it, and it kept coming back. A lot of times anachronisms are jarring, but not in the purposeful way I felt this was.
Yeah, this one was meant to be in your face, and this was my music growing up, right? And it's coming back in, what was it, 2001? And so it was like, yeah, you know, all you guys, sitting in the basketball, watching basketballs, high school, and we, yeah. I mean, I was into it. Sorry, reveal my age there, but I thought it was really refreshing, and it's not quite tongue in cheek, but you got that feeling of, we know what we're doing and we're just going for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely they're all in. So for me, when I first saw this back in the day, I was a little bothered by it. I think mostly maybe that was because I was a little annoyed by the lead actress. She just kind of bugged me and her hairstyles and everything. And so I was a little bit of eye rolling. It was fun, but it was a little bit eye rolling. But as time has gone by, and as I watch it now, I'm like, I don't even think we would have hardly remembered this movie if it hadn't had been actually for the anachronisms. I think that's actually what made the movie memorable and gave it that little extra edge of fun and distinction above any other run-of-the-mill kind of, jousting knight's tale. So let's look at it structurally and see if there's anything there.
Let's look at it. Those of you that are in the know, who would you say our primary actor is on this one?
William.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. And he's okay. It's terrible to say. When I was married with kids at the time, but dang, Heath Ledger, it was such a sad thing when he was gone. But he was very attractive.
Well, that's all that matters. So
sorry, you guys. That's my thing. So we got William.
Is that a character role, most attractive character?
Yeah. Where's that function? Where does that go? Sorry, go. Because really, that's what the story code is all about. The story code is all about tracking attractiveness.
Likability. Actually, that comes in with central viewpoint character. You're looking at who they are, what type of person they are. Yeah,
They have to be likable.
yeah, they have to be likable. Who would we say our central viewpoint character is?
Same.
I do feel like it's William, and he's definitely driving it, but I think eventually, who are we seeing it filtered through?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Chaucer. Because that's like, I should write this story. And I love the fact that this story, it takes into account, it's like a mythical, it's them putting in those missing years of Chaucer and saying, well, this is probably why he was missing, and this is where the stories came from. And so it's just, I love those kinds of clever, intelligent stories that take advantage of a whole and fill it in with creativity. I mean, yeah. Norm breaking.
And surprise, because I don't think any of us think that we would have come up with that character to represent Chaucer. Like we always think, even just Shakespeare growing up, you're thinking Shakespeare is this serious, formal person. And then you really get to know Shakespeare and you're like, no, he definitely was not. And his material is bawdy and not formal, but we see it as classical theater, And so I thought that was just really a great character choice for Chaucer.
Yeah. I'm seeing William here. Well, let's look at that IED. Who starts the whole story?
I felt like it was kind of a 1-2 punch where Sir Ecto dies, and then William decides to impersonate him.
Yeah, disguise. Yep,
yeah.
Right there. So you've got a kind of a 1-2 punch here with the IED. His benefactor, his knight dies, and he disguises himself. So you've got William as norm breaking, as he's definitely not following in the norms, but whose rules is he breaking?
Normative knighthood society, the nobility.
The knight's code or
nobility.
And who represents the nobility in this story?
Sort of Adhemar.
Well, we've got Prince
and Prince Edward.
Yep, Prince Edward. Adhemar would be kind of right here. He supports that. He's part of that. He's also his Abhenar. Okay. I sometimes wonder when it's an interesting spelling, if I'm spelling them right. So he comes in as Noise and Chaos, who William is up against. William's also up against some other things.
Well, Jocelyn is associated with the system.
Jocelyn, yes. And who does he have noise and chaos?
I feel like Jocelyn also adds to the noise and chaos because she tells him to lose. So she's another noise maker.
I would not have. Yeah, I didn't have right.
Yeah, definitely not the primary, but she's in there a bit.
She's in there. She's part of that. And that's when we look at these characters, we do say, who is primary? Who is the primary one? Because sometimes, when we've got this central viewpoint character, so I'd say William is primary, and I would say Chaucer is maybe just a viewpoint character, not primary. And so you can kind of add him here, but we still see it through William's perspective. We are aligned with William. And
would William generate, at least enough of his own
chaos,
noise and chaos to deserve to have a solid line there?
Yeah, right. Yeah, I think you've got some. I don't know that it's internal. I would say most of it is external for him.
Yeah.
And Watts and even Chaucer with his gambling, his cohorts there are a little unruly as well. Chaucer, yeah.
So I would say Watt is here with ally with William along with
Roland.
Oh, Roland, yes. So we've got a really nice cone going. Who do we have a safe character?
Well, I'm wondering where his father is, because in a way, I would say his father's on his side for sure, right? But I think that William is also up against these expectations that his father set for him. He set him off on this. This is backstory, but still, I feel like he's trying to live up to this idea that he's going to go off and change his stars. That's a pretty big, um, heavy expectation to lay on a kid, however old he was when he. So I almost feel like he's trying to live up to that, which helps motivate him to step into that IED spot.
Yeah, expectations. And usually you find those backstories feed into the IED. And whether or not you filter the backstory in, because we don't get a lot of his, I mean, you get his father at the very, very end coming back, which is good structurally, that we got to call back into that, that motivation that was keeping him going. I kind of wondered if Prince Edward. So look at Prince Edward's steps and his shifts. Do we see shifts in Prince Edward and how he eventually, where he eventually ends up? Because he's system. Do you think
I feel like Edward, he moves from respecting him and understanding him because they both wanted the same thing, which just was the chance to joust.
Yes.
And then when he realizes this disparity in William's level in society, that's when he reaches down and lifts him up. And I don't think he would have done that at the beginning.
I think with him as the safe character, I mean, as the system character, when he knights him, that's at least a safe, if not even just a full-on allegiance.
Yeah,
But there's something about him having that he's an empowered safe character if he is. Yeah, it's it's probably more than that.
So we get, that we get a feeling that he sides, he appreciates William for jousting, even knowing who he was, because William does know who it was, and he reveals that to Edward. And we see Edward kind of, there, but then when push comes to shove, Edward literally tips the cone upside down, sides with William, and gives him credibility. So that's the full protective shield. And that's basically, come down and I'm going to lift you up so that you can become a hero. Where, because William's hiding his identity for a lot of it, we get some rogue hero in here on the side of William. He's definitely a rogue.
Mm-hmm.
And that's reflected in that him also stepping into the IED.
Yes. And that's because when he actually, steps into and starts his own story after, the happenings, brings in a bit of danger. He has to hide who he is to get in under the radar to become that rogue hero. But when Prince Edward comes down, lifts him up and says, okay, and is it, and I was debating, is this, it's not a system hero coming in and becoming the hero, because he didn't make William the hero. He came down enough to give William the ability to then go compete.
He shared power with him. It made him a knight, which technically made him nobility. So
yeah, and that's where you get it. So Michelle?
So, in a love shift, how one comes down and then the other comes up, even though this isn't a love relationship, it is a friendship relationship. I was wondering if there's that kind of shift in this.
Well, I don't think William changed his stripes.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
So, but that's a really good question, Michelle. And you're right that a love shift is any sort of compromise, not just romantic love. But what Edward did was even more so. He didn't meet him in the middle. He came all the way down and again gave him some power enough to where he could have the chance to become his own hero.
Yeah.
So I think that supersedes, Yeah, that supersedes the love shift because a love shift travels half the distance and a shield travels the whole distance. So it's the greatest amount of distance traveled with a power share.
I think
Thank-
that's what keeps the movie going still, because these things are irresistible. And we do feel like William earned it. We do. We totally understand why Prince Edward did that. We would have too. And that's what's so absolutely tremendous with this, is that you feel all that power, but then you still had William coming and being that hero at the very end. And cheer, and he gets Jocelyn. He wins. He wins here. The nobility wins, and we win.
Well, you've got a big lose for
But-
Admar.
Yes, you've got right here.
And even though he's down lesser in ranking, he is your main system character of the show. Kind of like there were higher ranking people than Darth Vader in Star Wars, but Darth Vader is the system character for Luke Skywalker for that particular story, even though Governor Tarkin and whoever else might be higher ranking.
So yeah, you could put Adamar as being, in the jousting world, he's the winner. He's the major player here. He is completely battered. You have been measured, and you have been found wanting.
And he lost Jocelyn, so I mean he's got
Lost
all
Jocelyn.
Yeah.
So he actually, he lose and battered. Literally battered. And yeah, it's a tremendous story. And I can see where, it's a feel-good story that's just great to go back to and watch and just enjoy. And that roguery, is that a word? That rogue hero is honestly one of my favorite dynamics that I love watching. I don't know why. What is it in my society, my system, that I always find these rogue heroes enticing? A lot of the time, well, when you look at a society that mostly loves dramas, guess what? The system they are living in their world, they don't have true heroes. So they're looking for true heroes. So that's where we go seeking dramas. We go to the theater to escape our real world, and so we can live in our fantasy world, where true heroes, traditional heroes win against a system, takes down the system. And, I kind of look at the Marvel stories. I say, what is it in our system where we are lacking true heroes?
Yeah, we keep searching for them. So to wrap up, we have a drama here, but we do have a bit of a blended rogue satire elements.
Yeah,
I mean,
we've got that it happened to him. He was in a tight spot. He had to do something, but then he rose to the occasion. And
yeah, and his roguish nature. So I just think it blends that in a little bit. So our last question for this morning, is what's the theme?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
I think the theme is that it doesn't matter who you are, you can still rise and do what you want to do.
Yeah, and it was actually stated 2 or 3 times, maybe even a little too much, but what was the phrase that they used throughout the movie? Can you remember? It was something about changing your stars. Like you have the power to change your stars was the way that the dad said it, and then it was repeated 2 or 3 times. But that's the basic theme, I think. Have we missed any patterns, any dynamics?
You guys are just like, yeah, Michelle.
There is the secondary story of the romance and how Jocelyn has to come down to him.
Yes, we should do a love shift up there.
Yeah, she comes down, and he's been trying to get up the whole time.
And that's she played hard to get, and all that was awesome. But it was nice at the end that even before he was made officially a knight, that she had already accepted him.
Yes. It
knowing
would have felt. I mean, look at the timing. If you had done that the other way around, I think you would have gotten a lot of rejection from the audiences. Like, oh, now she's coming down, and there would have been a little bit of egg on her face for that. So look at that when you're doing your stories, and the linear sequence of events to make them more believable, as well as, just having enough power on your side to make a win. You also look at substantively what happens if you have, mix up that hero moment and mess up the timing, 'cause
Yeah.
that could have been a fatal flaw.
Well, and we want to use the term believable with a grain of salt, because none of this is believable. Like, I don't think there could have been a as self-directed and confident woman and survive in those time periods. But within the world that they created and the stuff that we were able to suspend our disbelief, then yeah, it all worked out.
Yeah, in a way, I mean, you could say that the anachronism, stuff it helps
Yes.
foster that expectation with the audience that this is if they're breaking the rules of what we might expect to see in medieval society, that's okay, because clearly they're breaking other expectations. And
Yes.
it's not meant to be straight historical. They're taking another route with an alternate universe kind of version of this.
That first view of Chaucer, okay, this is not the Chaucer I thought I knew. And the music, and then Jocelyn and her power, you're working with modern sensibilities.